I'm Eric Carabell. On the latest fantasy-focused baseball podcast, the awesome Tristan Cockroft and I discuss Kyle Schwarber catching, Jose Peraza playing, Alex Reyes relieving, not really, plus closer carousel and your hash browns.
This is The Right Time with Bomani Jones on ESPN Radio or on the ESPN app.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. So, guys, apparently there is going to be a Tom Brady movie. Yeah. Check this out. Deadline reports that there will be a Tom Brady book coming to the bookstore and a Tom Brady movie. And it says that the Tom Brady book and film, they will focus on the quarterback's career and the run to a fifth Super Bowl. And it will also talk about Deflategate and the after. Are we really trying to make an underdog story out of Tom Brady after Deflategate? Like, are they really going to make Tom Brady the conquering hero against institutional evil for Deflategate? Is that what we have here? Because that appears to be what we have here.
He's rising up, fighting the man.
Fighting the man. That's right. The man who gets cast as Roger Goodell. I mean, Owen Wilson, I think, is the obvious guy that people would think about as being cast as Roger Goodell. But are they going to make him just go full doofus in order to pull this role off? Yes. So apparently the guys who are doing this is going to shock you, but they were co-writers of The Fighter. You saw that movie, The Fighter? It's going to be them. They also co-authored a book called Boston Strong that was the basis for Patriot Day. So this is just in a long line of We Are Boston. Like this is, and so Tom Brady, not quite the same level as the heroes of the Boston Marathon. I think we could all agree upon that. We could all agree upon that. But is that what it's going to look like when the movie's done? Because I feel like the movie going to have him looking like he one of them first responders.
Do we really need a movie, though, about Tom? Like, there's already been documentaries on him being the, sixth-round draft pick and all the guys that got, all the quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of him. Like, we did that. That was fine. And he went on to win championships. But do we really need a movie with him chronicling the whole Deflategate and rising up against it to win his fifth Super Bowl? Do we really need that?
No, I can't. Who wants to go see that? Now, if you wanted to do a story maybe of Tom Brady, coming up out of college and getting to the Patriots and then being thrown into action and being a little bit overwhelmed and then they get to a Super Bowl. Like, there's a movie in that first year, right? And I imagine, who would they cast if Drew Bledsoe in that movie? If they gave Tom Brady any say so, he'd have Jared Lorenzen out there. Now, Tom Brady's not involved in the movie, just to be clear. He is not involved in this movie. So who do you think they make Tom Brady?
Good question. Ooh. Ashton Kutcher? I don't know. Who? It's a good question.
I think Morris Chestnut could do a good job.
You know what?
Tom Brady.
That's a good point.
I think they have Morris Chestnut out there. Maybe he could play.
Jamie Foxx has played a quarterback in a movie before?
Yeah. I was thinking about Tom. I was thinking about that, but I feel like he's a little bit too in line with the comedy. So maybe, I don't know if that one, I don't know if that's the way to go on that. Let me think. Who else could wind up? Oh, come on now. We know he's going to play Tom Brady. Who's in everything these days? Kevin Hart. And see, by having Kevin Hart in there, you can play up the whole underdog sort of thing. He'll become like a combination of Rudy and Tom Brady at the same damn time. He's a bit undersized. Like that's maybe the guy. Like I always say, you gonna cast a movie about me? Who do I want to play me? Duh, Johnny Depp. I don't understand why you can't do that with Tom Brady. Right? Yeah. So we're gonna have Kevin Hart out here starring as Tom Brady in the Tom Brady story. By the way, apparently Malcolm Butler there's going to be a movie about Malcolm Butler's life. The movie is called The Secondary, and it will chronicle his rise from working a fast food restaurant to having 2 Super Bowl rings. Now, here's what's crazy about this one. That's your Rudy story right there, right? Like, that is your Rudy story. That is, what is it, Hoosiers, like your up from the bottom sort of stories, the Kurt Warner movie that I can't believe nobody's made yet, right? Like, there's that story right there. You think America going to receive that story in the same way? I mean, my man was working at Foot Locker. Foot Locker. They don't even sell cleats at Foot Locker, do they? Or you have to go to Dick's to get the cleats, don't you? Like, I don't know how much Foot Locker had that he could actually use. Like, cross trainers. Thank you. I can use these when I go work out and do CrossFit. Like, I mean, I have no idea. But, yeah, we got movies out here. Who else in sports do we feel like we need? I ain't going to lie. It ain't going to be the heartwarming movie that people want out of a sports movie. But I'd watch a Pac-Man Jones movie. I bet that thing would be action-packed. It'd be a whole lot going on in the Pac-Man Jones movie.
Who we gonna get to play Pac-Man?
No, come on. Oh, God, that's a good question. That's a good question. Chief Keef, can he act?
One of the Migos?
Yeah, maybe they could. Let me tell you, man, as I think about this, all the different guys in the NFL or in sports or whatever that we need movies about. Like, Pac-Man seems to be up there. This is one of those moments where I had one in mind, and then, like, just that fast, it slipped away completely. And I feel like if I keep talking long enough, that maybe, just maybe, it'll come back around. And no, it hadn't happened. It hadn't. I was really trying, and no, it just didn't. It didn't come back around. Surprised they ain't trying to make no Kirk Cousins movie yet. I can absolutely see them trying to make a Kirk Cousins movie.
You referenced it early in the week with it being the 50th year anniversary of the whole Linsanity thing. Did we ever get a movie out of that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Did that happen?
That could happen. That might happen. I don't know if they would necessarily air it in this country, but I'm sure there are places where they could air it and make billions of dollars.
If Delhi's getting a movie about
Delhi is getting a movie.
Then Linsanity needs its movie.
I feel like everybody need to be out here hating after Delhi got a movie. Like, after Delhi got a movie, you got to look at yourself and be like, so what you trying to say about my life? Why you acting like my life is not interesting? Hey, we need a movie about my man CGB. Can't go back? Jonathan Simmons? I'd watch a movie about Jonathan Simmons' life. Absolutely would watch the movie about Jonathan Simmons' life. Him coming home at night and kissing those babies and being like, don't you worry, I'm going to get us a better life. So it'll be like Pursuit of Happiness. They'll dramatize that thing all the way up to have him sleeping in a subway station, even though Houston doesn't even have subways. They'll have him in there sleeping in the subway station. Just you watch. Just you watch. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. How boring would a movie about the Manning brothers be? Like, would there be anything there that we could possibly get out of it? Anything at all entertaining? Nope.
Got nothing, and I'm a Giants fan, and what can be said or shown about the Mannings that we don't already know? I mean, we've been chronicling the Mannings now, speaking of the Sons, and of course with Archie for now, 20 years?
Yeah. How about this? How about we make it happened again? I did it again. I was about to tell you what the movie was going to be, and then the movie just kind of dropped out of my head. Oh, there we go. How about a movie, an Odell Beckham movie? I'm just saying, it'll be a lot of dancing. That's all it is. Like, Odell, you're going to do an Odell Beckham
musical.
Yeah, but he going to have to learn how to sing. I don't know if he can sing, but he's going to Odell Beckham movie. He got to learn how to sing because there's going to be all the dancing in the Odell Beckham movie. All the dancing in the Odell Beckham movie.
Here's the thing: if you do an Odell movie, of course Odell would have to play Odell.
Oh, there's no chance anybody else is playing Odell. It would be him with some awful acting. Like maybe Odell might turn out to be, the modern day version of Anthony Hardaway. I'm just saying, if I leave, will my mama lose her house and job? That was bad acting. That was real bad.
Butch McRae.
Yeah, that was real bad acting. That was really, 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 really bad acting. I'd watch the Scottie Pippen movie. Scottie Pippen was the manager when he got to college at Central Arkansas, and they wound up being a lottery pick. We could maybe make a movie out of that one.
Is Future going to be in that one?
You just had to do that, didn't you?
You mentioned Scotty.
Yeah.
It's funny how that so many more people now know him in regards to the Future thing now.
That's so
how
unfortunate.
does that happen?
So
this is Scottie Pippen.
It's so unfortunate for him. It's such a terrible, terrible, terrible break for him. Just not what you want. Just not what you want.
I'd watch a Meta World Peace movie.
I would watch a Ron Artest movie. I would totally watch a Ron Artest movie. Would you watch a Ron Artest movie? I would totally
Without
watch a
a doubt.
Ron Artest movie. Just so we can get that scene when that dude got caught that table leg to the chest in the pickup game. Like that's what we need that for. In fact, I don't even need a whole Ron Artest movie. Make me a movie about the Malice at the Palace. Make me that movie. That's the movie that I want to see. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Give us a call. Coming up next, Everybody talking about this thing where the Marlins almost got sold to the Kushner dude that's tied up with the Trumps, but y'all are missing the most gangster element of the whole thing. I'll tell you what it is on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
Draymond Green says the New York Knicks owner James Dolan operates with a slave master mentality. Mike and Mike get reaction from Jalen Rose Friday morning at 9 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Nothing makes you feel better than jamming to the song you haven't heard in a while. The Right Time with Bomani Jones presents the Old Soul Song of the Day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Bill Plaschke of the LA Times will join us next segment. Bill Plaschke will join us at 6:30 Eastern. That's the Old Soul Song of the Day, Use Me, by Bill Withers. I don't think I've ever been quite in this situation right here, where you know it's bad for you, but you just keep on going, even though I ain't quite been there. In fact, I don't ever want to meet this woman. That's like the woman in the Lenny Williams song. I don't want no woman that got me out here talking like that, ever. I just don't feel like that is going to, like, positively affect my life. Not at all. I want women I can deal with. Something I can handle. Something that won't drive me crazy. Something manageable.
Comfortable in your lane.
Yeah, something manageable. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. You know what's always in season? Surprising a friend or loved one with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. 1-800-Flowers has amazing offers on bouquets starting at just $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So, don't know if you guys saw this, but it was looking like the Marlins, the Florida, not the Florida Marlins anymore, the Miami Marlins, like they were going to move for $1.6 billion. $1.6 billion. And it looked like the bidder that was going to win on this $1.6 billion was a gentleman by the name of, was it Frank Kushner? So here's the thing about Frank Kushner. Charles Kushner. Here's the thing about Charles. His son is Jared Kushner, the guy who married Ivanka Trump. And so this started to look a bit corrupt to people because apparently Jeffrey Loria, the owner of the Marlins, is up for an ambassadorship to France, right? So he's up for an ambassadorship to France, and then it looks like a guy who's tied to the White House is going to sell on the team, and so that appears to have made this thing all fall apart. By the way, South Florida team owners are way tied up in this Trump thing. The dude that owns the Florida Panthers, they're a hockey team, for those of you who don't know, but I don't blame you for not knowing because I live here, and the only person I've ever heard talk about that hockey team is Roy Bellamy. Anyway, that dude was up for like Secretary of the Army or something like that, but I believe they found out he had an undocumented worker at his house, and then that whole thing fell apart. So like down here, part of the interest is they want Loria out of here so bad. They want Loria out of here so bad that Dan Le Batard is going to finance himself a parade to celebrate Jeffrey Loria getting out of Miami. He says he will pay for it himself because people are so mad about the way they shoehorned that stadium into Little Havana that nobody wanted, and it's all. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot that's going on with that. But I feel like so many people are missing out on the most gangsterific element of this whole situation. And you know what that is? Jeffrey Loria used to own the Montreal Expos, right? And you may remember this. Loria used to own the Montreal Expos. He basically traded the Expos for the Marlins. Major League Baseball bought the Expos, moved them to D.C. They became the Washington Nationals. And then Loria wound up down here with the Marlins, right? Okay. Jeffrey Loria started with an initial investment of $12 million. $12 million was his initial investment in the Montreal Expos. Dan told me this today. $12 million. He had a deal to sell the Marlins for $1.6 billion. I can divide, but I can't divide that up for you right fast. Yo, that's nuts. He turned $12 12 into 1,600. That's what he did. 12 into 1,600. He's made all the money. I mean, as much as I want to be mad with these people in Miami that are mad about that stadium and everything else, I can't be mad at that kind of hustle. I feel like I need to take some notes. I need him to teach me more. Like, what can I do to get myself 12 to 1,600?
That's quite a flip.
Wow. Have you even been to the baseball stadium yet, by the way?
I've driven past it.
I went to a game there once. It was the Marlins against the Mets, and I think the Mets had a no-hitter into the 6th inning, and there was no way to tell that from the crowd. There was just no energy whatsoever from that fact. Also, Laurie, they built the stadium, and he spent all that money that 1 year, and then they hired Ozzie Guillen, right? And then Ozzie Guillen messed it all up by saying that thing about Castro, and then they had a fire sale in the middle of the season. Dan, I'm stealing all Dan's stuff. Dan said at one point, true story, there's that statue in center field. That statue cost more money than the Marlins' whole outfield at one point. Right. Than the whole outfield. That's what it was at that point. This dude turned $12 million, or he might turn it into $1.6 billion.
Do you think that the Kushner would have you think he wouldn't have been as hesitant if the Lauria stuff wouldn't have gotten out?
Yeah, I wonder if all this other stuff that's coming out these days, too, just make the block a little too hot and they need to chill out right now on, everything. Maybe that's what it is. Obviously, that's the part. Otherwise, what else is there? I don't think there's even a question there. If the ambassador thing didn't come out, there's no appearance of conflict of interest. Therefore, they would have still gone with it. My confusion is that's the level of conflict. This is the thing that you shut down because of a conflict of interest? And I asked that question to all parties involved in this. This is where, it's just too shady for you to do an ambassadorship. That's it. Honestly, I feel like given the way that they name people ambassadors, apparently being an ambassador is a little bit easier a job than I thought it was. Because they just be pulling anybody, like Woody Johnson, where they making him the ambassador too? Because he got him an ambassadorship. Art Rooney got the ambassadorship to Ireland under Obama. They just be giving anybody these ambassadorships. I don't feel like this is where you got to draw the line. You got it on Woody Johnson? You don't know where he's going to be ambassador. But this doesn't seem to be the place where you need to draw the line.
Woody Johnson, ambassador to the UK.
Oh, to the UK. That's an easy ambassador job. They speak English. Does Jeffrey Lurie even speak French? We're just going to send him over there just to talk to them. But I'm so shocked. And in Miami, look, man, you got to be real shady to register on the shadiness enough for anybody here to care enough and feel like you got to shut your stuff down. Nobody in Miami thinks that that's shady enough. They're like, look, y'all really going to let this stop us from getting Laurie up out of here? An ambassadorship? You think that we want him gone and y'all going to use that to stop it? Was that? And on the other side, I don't know if you guys been watching the news, but far more significant potential conflicts of interest have not stopped far more important things from happening. Far more important things. But that's where we are now. Shannon, welcome to 2017, where this little bit of corruption is no. We got a lot more. We got a lot of other things that we got to deal with before we get
corruption. We know corruption.
Yeah. This ain't I don't even know how you get around to this one, right? It's like you mess around and break your leg. Suddenly, the fact you hit your thumb with a hammer doesn't matter anymore because your leg's so broke. None of that other stuff even registers. None of that other stuff even rates.
How does it even get on the docket?
Anyway, we filled out that segment. I feel better about myself. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Bill Plaschke of the L.A. Times, try to make sense of what's going on with the Lakers and whether Magic is actually in charge. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. This just in. Ducks forward Antoine Vermette suspended 10 games by the NHL for slashing a linesman on Tuesday night in apparent anger after a face-off. This could be a milestone night for Penguins superstar captain Sidney Crosby. Crosby, who leads the league in goals and is second in points, enters the matchup versus the Jets 1 point away from 1,000 in his career. NC State fired basketball coach Mark Gottfried after 3 straight blowout losses. He will, though, coach through the end of the season. An NC State official told ESPN's Andy Katz Gottfried asked the school's AD if he could finish the remainder of the season due to his commitment to the players. Wolfpack 14-3 overall, 3-11 in ACC play. NFL negotiations underway between the Steelers and Antonio Brown on a new contract that would keep the 5-time Pro Bowl receiver with Pittsburgh the remainder of his career. GM Kevin Colbert told reporters getting a deal done with Brown a priority in a year when the team will likely put the franchise tag on running back Le'Veon Bell. Liberty announced it's moving from FCS to FBS, joining FBS for the 2019 season.
Sports Center is brought to you by JCPenney. Come in and stock up on select styles of Levi's, like men's Levi's 505 regular fit jeans for just $41.65, or save an extra 20% off on select items with your JCPenney credit card and coupon. That's getting your pennies worth. JCPenney.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. We hope to talk to Bill Plaschke of the LA Times, but we're not betting on it. Anyway, Vince Young, comeback? Yes. Vince Young apparently has a comeback. Lee Steinberg is his agent, and Vince is planning a comeback. Also, Lee Steinberg has tweeted that Vince Young has a tryout with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Got to say, I'm a little surprised. I said on TV today, I was like, nah, Vince too country to be talking about moving to Canada. And Vince is from Houston. Vince ain't ready for all that cold. Apparently, Vince is ready for all that cold if those are the people that are going to be, giving him money to play football. So it appears that Vince Young will have a tryout in Canada. What do you think? What's the thought process when a guy who's been out as long as Vince has been decides, like, look, man, I want to come back? What I worry about, of course, the obvious question is, does he need the money? Like, it's a sad story if he needs the money. If he doesn't need the money, it's just him doing whatever it is that he wants to do. And I imagine if you're Vince, how frustrating is it watching the NFL if you're Vince? Because, look, I don't think that Vince Young is a starting NFL quarterback at this point. I think it's been a while since he's been a starting caliber quarterback. But you can't tell me that Vince can't hold somebody's clipboard. And then Vince got to be looking at Brock Osweiler being like, you can't tell me I can't do that. Vince from Houston, no less. You can't be telling me that I can't do at least what this cat is out here doing. Like, I imagine that has to be part of it. Regardless of what the financial situation is, Vince has to be looking around being like, come on, you telling me that I can't hold a clipboard? Somebody's got to let me hold a clipboard. And there is, to me, a certain level of, I don't even know what the word is exactly, but the idea that there are so many cats out here in this league who outright stink, just flat out stink, but nobody thinks that Vince can come in and hold a clipboard. We still got two McCowns in the NFL. Vince can't even hold a clipboard. Come on, man. And we all know that clipboard money is the best money that the NFL has to offer you. Is there any better job in the NFL than being a quarterback, a backup quarterback? Nobody hits you. You still get paid. You be over there wearing your baseball cap, looking stylish. You go into the meetings. All you got to do is watch a little film. Man, that's the gig you want. That is totally the gig you want.
And you don't go home hurt every day.
That's the big one. That's the big one. And we talk about the micro home and the macro home. You don't have to go to either one of those feeling like you just got blasted. In fact, I want to give me some of that backup quarterback money right now. See, here's what Vince got to do if you want to be a backup quarterback, man. You just got to start making conversation. Like, I'm convinced the best thing you can do to be a backup quarterback, just get along with dudes. My man Steve White, SB Nation, used to say that. He's like, look, you don't see Jeff George holding no clipboard, do you? Nope. Why? People don't like Jeff George. That's all it is. Like, if you come in the league and you're a quarterback, get in there and treat everybody as nice as you possibly can, because if the day comes and you ain't got it where you can play, don't you worry. There's a job for you if you can get along. Show up on time with those donuts. Just give a couple suggestions. Like, hey, man, you saw they was doing cover 2 right there, right? Yeah. See, you got to watch out for that cover 2. That would be my whole thing if I was a backup quarterback. I'd be saying all the time, hey, man, watch out. They might run cover 2. Hold up. Might be his own blitz. Might want to watch out for that zone blitz. The Right Time is brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Also, is it possible that he may wind up in that what's it, Pac Pro League, the one they're talking about? Is Vince might wind up there. I don't want the Pac Pro League to turn into that. Like, I do not want the Pac Pro League to be the old timers game. That would be sad. Because you remember what happened the last time in the NBA we had an old timers game. All the old timers kept getting hurt.
It's one thing if we got a 3-on-3 or something like that.
Right.
The full court, no.
Come see the stars of your childhood suffer debilitating injuries. Nah, bruh. No, we don't need that. We don't. Like, you hear about them over 40 baseball leagues. You don't hear nothing about no over 40 football league. Ever. You know why? Because ain't nobody got that much insurance. I feel like they cut off your insurance. Like, what'd you do? Hey, I was out here playing football. How old are you, 40? Yeah, somebody call legal. There's a moral hazard issue. Someone please call legal.
That whole pre-existing condition thing is just right out the window there.
All right. This is an interesting call that we have here. 888-729-3776. We were talking a little bit about Draymond Green earlier. Let's talk to Ed in Ohio. Ed, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bomani, thanks for taking the call. I got something to explain about what Draymond Green said, and I got a quick thing to finish up about Draymond Green himself.
Okay.
Charles Oakley made himself a reasonably wealthy man playing for the Knicks. Okay, it is possible for James Dolan to be a slave owner and have a slave owner's mentality without being a racist. Because when James Dolan came out with all these crazy statements about Charles Oakley's behavior, who was the one backing him up? You read depositions from what? The ticket taker, the elevator operator, maybe a concession man in there?
Right.
James Dolan brought the weight of the entire Knicks organization down on Charles Oakley. So, there was somebody in the PR department, got a, BA in English and a Master's of Business Science, called somebody on Sunday night and said, let me run this by you. Should we say that Charles Oakley was drunk, or should we just say, we hope he gets the help he needs? Because there's a lot of people in this situation that couldn't go forward with themselves because James Dolan's writing the checks, right? And when it gets down to the security guys, if Charles Oakley was, truly posing a hazard, they would have stopped him. But if it came down to, you're making the big boss, uncomfortable, now we got to go fight Charles Oakley. That's the slave owner's mentality, is that in the 21st century, it's not about what color you are, it's about how much money you make.
Well, hold on. Here's one thing I would say, though, because I think there's a point that you're making, but something that is very interesting about this to me is the idea that if you say someone has a slave owner's mentality, we automatically say that, okay, you're putting this in the terms of race, which becomes funny because it says by definition that you can't treat a white person like a slave, which is saying almost by definition that a white person is too high in the social hierarchy for you to ever say that about a person, which I think is kind of interesting when you stop and think about it. And Ed, I appreciate the call. Like, you could say, he treats his players like slaves. No one ever thinks you could ever be talking about a white person because by definition, you think a white person could never be a slave, right? That's the hierarchy in how it works. Like, that, I think, is an interesting part of this, is that is the hierarchy and how it works. Like, the reason that white people will never think of comparing anything to slavery is they don't think that has anything at all to do with them. Because otherwise, you could point to some of the same things that we talk about in these other places. But white folks don't think about it as being slavery because we ain't no slaves. We've never been slaves. We never would be slaves. At least I think that made sense. Shannon, I had to do that. And my man Ed was making some points, but, man, it was taking a while.
I appreciate the call, and you're right. He was making some points as far as the mentality, not necessarily the race stuff, although I think that's something to that, but just the mentality of the guy at the top forcing everyone against and singling out this one person.
But it is interesting, though, that people like the idea that you cannot at all associate anything close to slavery with anyone but, like, it has to be a race issue by definition, tells you a lot about, like, where we are, where we've been as a nation and where we continue to be. Because even within that, if you can't even look, like, comparatively at the idea that you might think of a white person as being a slave, then that means that you understand, like, the notion, the idea of who's on top and who is on bottom. Like, we get that. And that's the thing that kind of persists in all of this. And that, to me, is where the idea of a slave master mentality does come in. Because if you feel like this guy looks at you as though you are beneath him, then I understand where you are coming from if you're Draymond Green, even if I don't think that Draymond Green was correct. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, we'll catch you up on what you haven't heard today on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The NCAA Tournament Selection Committee revealed the current top 16 seeds prior to Selection Sunday. Does Jay Billis think this is a good idea? Mike and Mike ask him Friday morning at 8 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Clinton Yates of The Undefeated and ESPN Radio for joining us in the 5 o'clock Eastern Hour. Also thanks to Will Kane of ESPN for joining us in the 5 o'clock Eastern Hour. And thanks to Tom Haberstroh of ESPN for joining us in the 4 o'clock Eastern Hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast, available with the ESPN app. All right, Shannon, what did we miss out on today?
We know you can't be on top of all the news and information of the day. Now, if you haven't heard.
So did the Texas governor really tell the NFL to stick to sports? If you haven't heard, here's Bomani Jones earlier today discussing the possibility of Texas maybe losing the Super Bowl.
And you got to understand, man, I'm from Texas, and one thing the Texans are not about is you telling them what to do. So here's what the governor has had to say about this. The NFL, quote, is walking on thin ice for some low-level NFL advisor to come out and say that they are going to micromanage and try to dictate to the state of Texas what types of policies we're going to pass in our state. That's unacceptable. We don't care what the NFL thinks and certainly what their political policies are, because they are not a political arm of the state of Texas or the United States of America. They need to learn their place in the United States, which is to govern football, not politics. Fool, they govern football and they govern where the Super Bowl goes, and they're telling you they ain't gonna give you the Super Bowl if you keep this up. Like, they're walking on thin ice. No. Like, if you don't care about the Super Bowl being in the state of Texas, that's fine, right? Like, that's on you. That's not something for you to be concerned with. Okay, that's whatever. You gonna come out here and threaten them? Like, I'm being serious. What are you threatening them with? Like, what are you, governor of the state of Texas, going to do to Roger Goodell? Because, look, all Roger's got to say is, you got 2 teams in Texas. We got 30 teams in the league. All of them would love to host a Super Bowl.
You think this governor really wants the chance losing the Super Bowl?
I just don't know what he thought the end game. Like, I'm going to give those guys a piece of my mind. And Jerry Jones is like, man, I wish you get a piece of this seat. Sit down, man.
Speaking of Texans, or folks from Texas, Adrian Peterson, Minnesota Vikings running back, tweeted out yesterday that the Giants have been making some, quote, interesting moves. Is it too soon for me to get my hopes up?
I mean, the thing is, how much does Adrian Peterson have left? That's the question.
You seen that Giants running game? Last in the league?
You don't even care what they got left.
31 years old or not.
I'm like, what does he have left? You're like, whatever it is, we'll take it. I mean, it seems clear. I mean, his contract's at a point where if he's going to stay in Minnesota, they got to renegotiate it. If they don't want to give him multiple years, then he's going to wind up out of there, and I could see him winding up with the Giants.
I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. I can start really, really looking forward to that now, right?
Now I hope he doesn't come just so your heart will be broke.
That ain't right.
I know.
All right. Well, earlier we spoke about the Tom Brady movie, and we mentioned also about Matthew Dellavedova getting a movie. Well, there's another NBA player who's getting his own movie, but he's not getting a movie about himself. Kyrie Irving's getting a movie, as his Pepsi character Uncle Drew is getting a full-length motion picture about Uncle Drew.
What? Whose idea was this? I don't want to see that.
Like, it's cool in spurts and the whole Pepsi thing, and as part of the promotion, but a full length, like, folks really checking for Kyrie as Uncle Drew for a whole movie?
That seems like colossal failure is written all over. Like, he don't score enough points a game to make us go watch him dress up as an old man.
All right, well, moving on, where it was announced that NC State will be moving on from head basketball coach Mark Gottfried at the end of the season. How good of a job is their NC State job?
Oh, it's one of the worst jobs in America. There's simply no way around it. It's one of the worst jobs in America. And it's not that you can't win at NC State. You can make the stars align and you can win. It's just been demonstrated over the last 35 years to be really, really hard to do so. Really, really, really hard to do so. And I don't blame those fans for wanting a lot. But that don't change the fact that they want a lot.
All right, moving on to the NFL, where Jets defensive back, I was going to call him corner, but he may not be anymore. Jets defensive back, Darrelle Revis, has charges pending against him in apparent fight or altercation. He was back home in Pittsburgh, and allegedly on Monday, early Monday morning, late Sunday, early Monday morning, around 2 in the morning, two men approached Revis and complimented him on his clothes before they started recording him on the cell phone and following him. Revis then allegedly proceeded to snatch the phone and throw the phone. I guess he was annoyed that the folks were following him at 2 in the morning and recording him. So the three men got into it, and apparently Revis allegedly knocked two of the guys unconscious, and one of them suffered broken bones around his eye. I'm never an advocate for violence per se, but if it's 2 in the morning and you're following me.
Hold on, walk this back for me. So they tried to take the video. He grabbed the phone.
Right.
He threw the phone.
Right, because they followed him.
Right.
He agreed. Like they asked if he was Revis.
Right.
And then they followed him.
So what happens after the phone gets thrown?
The men got into it. And he knocked the two guys out.
Yeah. I think one thing that did seem to happen here is just because he plays corner doesn't mean that he's not a football player. Like the corners, they're stronger than you are too. You don't want those problems, period. That's anything for you to learn. You don't want those problems. That being said, Revis probably going to catch a case off the rip for throwing the phone.
But my thing is, even if I'm a regular person, I don't want anybody following me at 2-something in the morning. Like the guys asked if he was Revis, and he acknowledged, yes, I'm Revis. So I'm Revis. Everybody knows that I'm a legend at the bank.
Yes.
And it's 2-something in the morning, and you're following me?
Dude, even if I'm not a legend at the bank, man, y'all ain't about to put me on World Star, bro. Like, that's all I can think in that situation. Just three of y'all is one of me, and y'all, like, nice watch. That's what it feels like. Nice watch. Was y'all trying to get me for my watch?
Reminds me of the time when I was in the 6th grade, and these two dudes tried to steal my Deion Sanders. They just came out, too.
Did they get him?
Nah, I was fast then. That was before the knees went out.
Gotcha.
Ain't no shame in my game. I ran.
Ain't no fight.
Right, nah, I'm good. But the charges are pending against Revis, and the charges include robbery, terroristic threats, conspiracy, and aggravated assault.
I'm just glad to know we still got to fight in them.
Who says corners avoid contact, right?
I'm sorry. I struggle to lecture a man on stealing off on somebody that was following him in the middle of the night, taking video of him that he probably asked them not to take.
That's one thing, and I'm just surprised though that the guys asked, "Were you Revis?" I would have lied. I
lie all the time about that. Like, are you? I'm quick to lie. My favorite is when I get to tell the truth. That's when they run up on me and be like, "Are you J.A. Adonde?" Like, that's the biggest relief in the world.
Why, yes, I am.
No, I'm not. I'm like, cool, I can get out of this conversation like that. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us on The Right Time. We do this every weekday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Shannon, Tommy, Mike, thanks so much. I am out until Tuesday. Clinton.
The 2017 NBA All-Star Game. DeRozan, Kyrie, and LeBron lead the Eastern Stars into New Orleans.
Butler throws it down with two hands. Wow. Kyrie Irving. James splits a double, drives and throws it home.
To face the West, led by Kawhi, Durant, and Curry.
James Harden stirring it up. Durant throws it down. Nothing but net. Steph Curry.
Coverage begins Sunday at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
On the latest episode of the Bill Barnwell Show, I talked to ESPN The Magazine's Mina Kimes about the latest episode of The Bachelor. Hot stuff. And check out the show on iTunes or by going to the ESPN app on your phone.
The NBA All-Star Game this Sunday.
Here's Curry behind the back. Half-court heave on its way. And he hits it!
Coverage begins Sunday at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.